One Gospel, Part 120, Jesus before the High Priest. They bound him and brought him first to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jews that it would be good if one man died for the people. But Simon Peter and another disciple followed him at a distance. Because this disciple was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard, but Peter had to wait outside at the door. The other disciple, who was known to the high priest, came back, spoke to the girl on duty there, and brought Peter right into the middle of the courtyard of the high priest. There he entered. It was cold, and the servants and officials stood around a fire they had made to keep warm. And Peter also sat down with the guards and warmed himself at the fire to see the outcome. Meanwhile, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. "I have spoken openly to the world," Jesus replied. "I always taught in synagogues or at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret. Why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said." When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby struck him in the face. "Is this the way you answer the high priest?" he demanded. "If I said something wrong," Jesus replied, "testify as to what is wrong. But if I spoke the truth, why did you strike me?" Then they led him away, still bound, and took Jesus to the house of Caiaphas the high priest. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. And at daybreak all the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and teachers of the law, came together, and Jesus was led before them. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for false evidence against Jesus so they could put him to death. But they did not find any, though many false witnesses came forward and testified falsely against him. But their statements did not agree. Then finally some stood up, came forward, and gave this false testimony against him. "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this man-made temple of God, and in 3 days will rebuild another, not made by man.'" Yet even then their testimony did not agree. Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, "Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing against you?" But Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. "If you are the Christ," they said, "tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me, and if I ask you, you would not answer. But from now on the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." Again the high priest asked him, "Then I charge you under oath by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One." "Yes, you are right in saying I am. It is as you say," said Jesus. "But I say to all of you, and in the future you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes, and he asked, "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now you have heard the blasphemy from his own lips. What do you think?" They all condemned him as worthy of death. "He is worthy of death," they answered. Then some began to spit at him in his face. They blindfolded him and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Christ. Who hit you?" And the guards took him and beat him.